American B-2 nuclear stealth bombers have been seen leaving Aviano Air Force Base in Italy. It is not clear whether they are equipped with nuclear weapons, but a senior US military spokesperson has stated that a non-conventional military response may be required and that they needed to be prepared for any eventuality. It is not known whether the bombers will be engaging directly in the conflict off the coast of Syria, or whether they will be deployed to the Baltic states to defend Latvia and Lithuania against the Russian military invasion. The B-2 bombers are practically invisible to radar and are capable of staying airborne for prolonged periods during a conflict. American AWACS surveillance aircraft along with several airborne refueling aircraft have also left Aviano Air Force Base to support military operations in the region. The Polish government has expressed their concern about the accumulation of Russian forces along its northeastern border with Belarus, fearing that they may push towards Germany and in doing so reclaim many regions within its country that used to be under Soviet control. Poland for many years has permitted NATO early warning and defence missile systems on its territory, and these are likely to be targeted by Russia in any significant move of its army towards Western Europe. Large-scale evacuations have already been reported in Warsaw and Krakow, prompting fears that the movement of people away from major cities might interfere with the deployment of troops and military vehicles to key defence positions. All civilian and commercial air traffic in the region has been suspended, and emergency civil defence measures have been initiated by the Polish government. The Aegis anti-ballistic missile system, in the early stages of its implementation in Poland, has been activated, although it is unclear how effective it would be should Russia launch a large-scale nuclear first strike.
And we can now join our correspondent, Sophie Jones, who is stationed with the British Naval Fleet somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea. We are not allowed to give any details of their exact location at this time, and we believe that they have updated information about the type of weapons used by Russia against NATO forces. Sophie, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Sophie, joining us on the call is our military advisor, Sir Norman Fairchild. But first, can you tell us as much as you can about latest developments in the conflict?
Well, things have been moving very quickly from what started earlier today as a rumour that Turkish forces had fired on Russian jets to a situation where NATO and Russian forces have been firing directly on each other. As you know, there has been a significant presence of British and US warships and aircraft carriers in the region because of the ongoing conflict in Syria, but no one had anticipated that the situation could change so quickly, and there has been a great deal of confusion as NATO forces have tried to respond. We've already seen footage of Russian warships firing precision-guided missiles, and we can report significant losses of NATO vessels and Navy personnel as a result. US and British warships have been returning fire and sorties of fighter aircraft are engaging with Russian forces, and as you can imagine, casualties are significant.
Sophie, we believe that we can now look at footage recorded not long ago, which we are keen to share with our military expert. Can you tell us something about this?
Yes, we do have footage from a stationary camera on board a NATO observation vessel, which was sailing close to a supply convoy carrying supplies of fuel, ammunition and military equipment, which of course is critical to the ability of NATO forces to sustain this battle. We understand that Russian submarines have been using their torpedoes against supply convoys, as well as warships and aircraft carriers. But what is significant here is that in each case a massive explosion has occurred, almost too big to describe. We have thought the torpedo had struck an ammunition storage vessel, but the fact that we have had at least 3 such explosions reported suggests that this is not the case. If we can roll the tape now, you'll see a distant view of the supply convoy, partially masked by one of the fuel tankers in the foreground, a couple of kilometres or so away from the camera. What happens then is just incredible. It seems to be a huge detonation underwater. The blast itself was at least a mile so wide and must have wiped out at least 20 or 30 vessels in one go.
Let's go straight to our military expert for his view on this incredible footage. Can you tell us what type of weapon you think the Russians are using here?
Well, I have to say that this is very disturbing. This is not a conventional torpedo by any means, and there is no doubt in my mind that Russia are using a nuclear-tipped torpedo, which would explain the extraordinary scenes we've just witnessed. I strongly suspect that they used a T5 nuclear torpedo, which generally has a yield of around 10 to 20 kilotons, and certainly would be capable of delivering the type of impact we've seen in this footage. And I have to say that this brings us into a completely different type of game. There is absolutely no way that NATO can compete against this type of weaponry by relying purely on its conventional forces. So the question is how they will choose to respond in light of these developments.
We're just receiving reports that the Russian Air Force has bombed several military installations in Poland, and that Russian tanks and heavy armoured divisions have crossed the border from Belarus into Poland just west of the city of Brest, which must surely mean that they will push directly towards the city of Warsaw. A statement from NATO's Central Command is expected shortly, and we will bring that to you as soon as it comes in. Sir Norman, what is your assessment of the situation given this latest news?
Well, I can't say that it's especially surprising, but clearly this is a very worrying development, and there can be no doubt now that this is part of an orchestrated and premeditated strike by Russia against the West. The situation is on a knife edge. NATO will have to respond, but we've clearly been caught napping. The West is totally unprepared for this type of scenario, and the willingness of Russia to use battlefield nuclear weapons is likely to force the hand of NATO military leaders to respond in kind. Even then, Russia is far better prepared, so I think we're in serious trouble here.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Let's continue the commentary, but we have breaking news of a significant explosion at RAF Fylingdales in Yorkshire, the home of Britain's ballistic missile early warning system, in what appears to be the first direct attack against UK forces on British soil. We've also had reports of similar attacks on Thule Air Force Base in Greenland and on Clear Air Force Station in Alaska from what appears to be submarine-launched ballistic missiles. Sir Norman, this is clearly a strategic move by Russian military commanders.
Yes, all of these military bases are part of a network of early warning radar systems designed to detect a nuclear launch against the West and to help to target incoming nuclear warheads. NATO has quite a substantial anti-ballistic missile system, but it relies on accurate targeting, so without these advanced radar capabilities, we'll be more or less shooting blind. It's pretty clear that we're going to get into a real shooting match very soon, so I think we should get off the air because things could go wrong very quickly.
The security environment in which we meet today is dark. This nuclear saber rattling of Russia is unjustified, it's destabilizing, and it's dangerous. And this is something which we are addressing, and it's also one of the reasons why we now are increasing the readiness and the preparedness of our forces, and we are responding by making sure that NATO also in the future is an alliance which provides deterrence and protection for all allies against any threat.
And we've just had a statement in from NATO Central Command. Western forces have used battlefield nuclear weapons against advancing Russian troops in eastern Poland, and have also confirmed the destruction of the Russian city of Kaliningrad, which was a major military centre and submarine base. A NATO spokesperson has said that efforts to contain the conflict are ongoing, and that the American and Russian presidents are in direct contact at this time. American B-2 strategic bombers have attacked Russian military bases in Belarus, and B-52 long-range bombers continue to approach Russian sovereign airspace. There are rumours that major Russian cities are being evacuated, and that a national civil defence programme is underway to move citizens to underground shelters and subway systems. In Britain, the Ministry of Defence has said that it continues to monitor the situation very closely, and that all efforts are being made to ensure the safety and security of the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister is said to be gravely concerned about the escalating crisis, but has asked the public to remain calm and to be confident that everything is being done to resolve the situation peacefully. The Archbishop of Canterbury and other senior religious leaders have asked people to come together in prayer at this time of great peril, and to have faith that goodness will prevail over the forces of destruction.
And we've just had more breaking news that thermonuclear bombs of undetermined strength have exploded at NATO regional military headquarters in Brussels and at a major US military and radar base in Wiesbaden in Germany, resulting in the reported destruction of the city of Mainz and the outskirts of Frankfurt.
This is the Wartime Broadcasting Service. This country has been attacked with nuclear weapons. Communications have been severely disrupted, and the number of casualties and the extent of the damage are not yet known. We shall bring you further information as soon as possible. Meanwhile, stay calm and stay in your own house. Remember, there's nothing to be gained by trying to get away. By leaving your homes, you could be exposing yourselves to greater danger. If you leave, you may find yourselves without food, without water, without accommodation, and without protection. We shall be on the air every hour on the hour.